Diane Scabilloni here, and welcome to my next episode of People I Know, Like, and Trust. I am so super excited to have Larry Morrison here. He is the Financial Shaman, and I'm so excited that he's here. I met him through Kyle Cease's Connections, and it's a program or a community that's called Evolving Out Loud. And Larry has many things going on, podcasts and all kinds of stuff like that. But he has a show once a week under the Kyle Cease program of Evolving Out Loud. And he has been talking about money, which, of course, those of you know that I'm a mortgage banker, that's a big deal. Do a lot of stuff with money. And then also spirit and following your highest calling and source and God. So this is such a good combination for me. I was like skipping as I was listening to his conversation one day, and I just wanted to share him with you. So welcome, Larry. I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This is always a fun conversation.
Yeah, this is so good. So I have so many things I want to talk about today, but one of the things is that really is very powerful to me is the concept that money is an illusion. Which is really I get it from my author creative brain side, but from the banking industry or, when I got to pay my bills and when I'm talking with customers about Fannie Mae guidelines and credit scores and fitting a box of how we have to function in society in order to have what you want or what you desire, it seems like it's a disconnect, but I know you explain it so well that there isn't a disconnect. Yeah. So can you kind of see how people can maneuver the rules of the world of finance and still have a flow of money and spirit connection? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love where we're starting right there because it is a perfect bridge for what it is I do, right? Marrying these two worlds back together. Yeah. And what comes to mind instantly is, what do we define money as, right? When we sit here and go, what is money? Money is an illusion, or it's a note by the US Treasury, or whatever you want to say. It's still just a debt instrument, an instrument to move resources. That's all it really is. It's a tool, just like any other tool. And so when we see money as just another tool to move resources around, then we kind of go, okay, it doesn't have more power than I do if it's a tool, just like any other, like a hammer or a car to get you to work or anything like that, right? So it's just a tool. So then it's, how do I better use that tool, right? And when you see that, like language is a tool, when we start to understand it, we start to understand ourselves and how others communicate, right? We understand that it's an energy. And just like this conversation, it's an exchange of energy for one thing, right? We just use this medium of money to exchange, bread for a glass of milk or whatever. It's just this medium we have chosen to exchange energy. And when you understand that it's an energy and that everything is energy, then you understand that money responds to our vibration, our energy, our frequency. And the most obvious way that I show people that, even though another one comes to mind as I say this, but the most obvious way that I show people is when you're talking to someone who has what we would consider below average amount of income, right, or a poor person in our society, they're going to believe a certain way about money that maybe gives them the money and the people with money power and puts them in their eyes, in their perspective beneath those people. And so it's the same as you go up into the affluent. However, just like how we think about something creates it in our life, like a body, what came to me is like a bodybuilder is going to think a lot differently about food than the average person or an obese person, right? And so that perception of what food is, you know, food to a bodybuilder might be fuel, it might be life, it might be sustaining well. To an obese person, you know, it might be comfort against their traumas or the world or keeping them safe or God knows what they've built this story around. So just in that perception of the energy of food, their entire life would be different. And it's this no different with money.
I love that you talk about, like, when you say that money is just a tool, that like takes so much of the energy off.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because if you translate it, like, money is a tool, well, so is a shovel. Like,
Mhm.
we don't have this massive amount of attachment to a shovel if we want to go plant a potato or plant some tomatoes.
Right.
Like, why? What is that? Why do we have so much energy and power associated with one? It's all made out of carbons or molecular yada yada.
Right.
What is that?
Well,
Why?
this is great, Diane, because what people have done is associated money with happiness. So a lot of people are now handing over their power to money because they believe it will bring them happiness. But if you take a step back and you just look at um, let's say we're going to build a house. You're in a mortgage industry, right? We're going to build a house. You look at all of the natural resources from the wood and the cement and the electrical systems and the copper, and all these things have to go all over the world to come, and then you have to have the contractors build it and all of this stuff. So some people will say, well, how much did all of that cost? And they'll look at the money as what did it. But if you take a step back, it's like, no, no, humans did it. Our energy and talents is what did it, is what brought all of these things together, right? And so humanity created this. Our collective co-creation created this, right? But some people have the perspective that money did it. No, no, no. Money is just a thing, right? It's just like you said, the tool. So the reason is simply that the shovel doesn't cause so much pain or stress is because they didn't build a story around the shovel. If we had a story that shovels will get you happiness, there'd be an entirely different trigger around shovels, right? Or that this is the major thing is that people view money as the thing with the power, not themselves, right? Let's look at it like if you built your own house, some people will be like, oh, how much did that cost? Well, it was my energy that did it, right?
Mm.
So it's literally all in the perception that gives that so much power over people, and they're, makes them stress out and work hard and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'll just be the devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
And so people's perception of someone that is, like you were saying, wealthy.
Mhm.
And I know you work with I know you've talked about helping millionaires with managing their money in previous life and and even current life around the mindset of it. But you know, someone maybe that makes, let's just say someone makes $50,000 versus someone that makes 500,000. Okay, let's like put specific figures on there.
Sure.
So the person that makes the 50 is saying, I wish I had that guy's life,
Right.
because if I had 50,000, I would be able to do da da
Right.
da 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 da, or I would have more power, or I would have more influence.
Mhm.
So, but what you're saying is it's more about the power and influence in here and in here.
Right.
How could that be?
So um, so here's a good, this is great, so let's keep going with this. Most people who in that scenario, let me just use your scenario, somebody who's making 50,000 would say someone who's making 500 has an easier life, that they
Yes.
have more ease, right? Like you said, more influence, more power, things come to them simpler, right? But that might not be the case. The person making 500,000 could be working 80-hour weeks and has just really perfected a skill set. You don't know, that's your judgment based on your perception, right? So you don't know what's going on in someone else's life. But if you say that my life would be easier with more money, then what you're saying is right now it's not easy. And so let's break down what's making it hard. And I guarantee you, you're going to find judgment of your life, self judgment. I should be smarter. That would make my life easier, right? I should be better. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve, right? I have to work hard. I have to struggle. These are all belief systems creating your reality. And so the mirror of this world, this reality is a mirror. So it's going to reflect back to you just what you believe about it. Or a simpler way to look at it is you're going to fulfill the programming in your mind. So if you believe money is a struggle, you're going to fulfill that prophecy, right? You're going to look at life like, oh, money's a struggle, so I have to work hard. And you won't see opportunities. They won't be there because that would end the story. And I see this all of the time when people have scarcity mindset. They will completely shut themselves down to ideas, opportunities. They'll make something that's simple difficult, right? We see that all of the time in everybody's life, right? Where it's like, why do you, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, like, why are you running around so much to do all of these things? Why not just take a break? And quite simply, it's because she gets energy from being stressed out. She likes it, apparently. And so from me, I'm like, I would never do that, but I don't want to judge her experience, right? So to take it back to the belief systems, you're going to fulfill, or this world is going to fulfill what you believe about it. So if you believe I have to work hard for money, for instance, how else is money supposed to come into your experience? It has to come through hard work and hard work alone. But you see people maybe like the $500,000 guy, maybe not, who seems to have everything come easy because he doesn't have that belief. So he can find opportunities where people are like bringing business investment opportunities, like, hey, invest in this. We'll make an easy, 100,000, 200,000. And he's like, sure, because he doesn't have that limiting belief. Does that make sense?
No, that's really good. And I can appreciate, I mean, that's just, oh, so perfect. Because like just even thinking, people may look at the guy, this, I don't know who these people are, but
Yeah, right. It's just
people,
talking about, yeah.
they're very lovely people. And
Yeah,
it could be a girl or a guy or whatever.
that's right.
But let's just say someone may look at it, and I love how you're bringing in judgment into this. It's so true how we do that to ourselves and each other without knowing what is really happening behind the scenes for these folks. But let's just say, people very close to me have said, I would never want to make that much money because I don't want to work that hard, just like you just said,
Oh,
or
because they have
because,
that belief. Yeah.
or I don't want to become a jerk.
No,
Like,
that's a
and
big one. Yeah.
they associate, and not even who says that 500,000 is really that much money. I just 10 times more. But
Right.
it's a matter of like perception of who will I become if I have that much money. And
Yeah.
if you perceive that you're going to become someone that you don't think is good, then of course you're not going to want to become that person.
Right. Yeah.
So let me ask you, um, if you, let's see, what was I going to say? So how do you, because the thoughts, changing your mindset.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
you want to be the guy making the 500.
Okay.
Okay. You believe that you can,
Uh-huh.
you're open to it,
Mhm.
but you have these limiting beliefs. And so
Sure.
maybe one of them might be that, okay, I just had this conversation with some friends.
Okay.
They're starting businesses, and they're very annoyed that, and they're using a lot of social media, they're doing podcasts, and they're doing, making offers of courses that they're teaching and stuff like that, but they're only getting like a couple people biting.
Yeah.
And so they're like, what am I doing wrong? What, like, this just must not work for me. I must need to spend like $100,000 to hire a PR guy.
Right.
So what would you say to those people? Is that true? Is that like, how would you go deeper with that?
So many things that I hear when you say that, right? So many things. Let's start with who's judging what success looks like?
Yeah.
Where are we looking at like, oh, I need a certain amount of views or a certain amount of customers to be successful, otherwise this isn't working? That is a judgment based on the physical response. And it makes sense if you live in a cause and effect reality, which this is not a cause and effect reality. It simply looks that way. But when you understand that it's not about how much money you make or how many views you get, it's about how you feel. Does it excite you to go on and do those podcasts? Does it excite you to do those things? Because that's where your energy and your heart is telling you that's where you need to go. Now, like we said before we hit record on this, there's a lot of times we'll follow our heart and then we'll run into limiting beliefs. So it can seem as though your excitement gets kind of drained. Like, oh, I was excited, but then I have to do social media, right? So there's a couple of different things that happen here. One is if it's just limiting beliefs, if you find the limiting beliefs that are making you feel down about social media, for instance, the way to do that is sit in the feeling. Let's say the feeling is uh, embarrassment, because a lot of people don't want to put themselves out there, right? So let's say they're embarrassed. Then I would ask, what do I have to believe about this to feel this feeling, right? And so that'll start to uncover some of these limiting beliefs. Now, if you do all that and you still don't like social media or putting yourself out there in that particular way, then it might be that it's time to delegate that responsibility to someone who does have a ton of excitement, right? So it's not like based on results, I need to hire a PR firm. No, it's based on my excitement. Do I need to hire a PR firm, right?
Mm.
I, for instance, uh, I recognize the need for it, but it doesn't excite me at all. And I've gotten rid of a lot of limiting beliefs. So what do? I put it out there in the universe that I need someone that's social media savvy, that understands me, right? And that person will come and that understands what I'm trying to do and that's excited about what they do, right? And that person will come. And I have one for LinkedIn she's awesome. But so it's not, we judge things based on results. And I would say, who's the one judging? What timeline are you using? Where are you getting your metrics for how this should work? None of that matters. That's all nonsense. It's literally day by day, how do you feel about what you're doing? You didn't get into this for results. You got into this because you thought it would bring you happiness. So are you happy now in the day-to-day doing what you're doing? And if not, let's find out why today instead of waiting for some supposed results that are supposed to indicate if you're on the right track. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But and I think what ends up happening though is that people follow the feelings and they're just exactly what you said. Then they're like, well, hey, if this is lighting me up, then it should bring results. But the
Mm.
results aren't coming. So I must be on the right path. So now I need to change something. I need to do something. And but maybe you just need to be. And people
Well,
don't want to think about that.
yeah, a lot of people don't want to sit alone and quiet and look at themselves, right? Which is why entrepreneurship, as you know, is so powerful because it makes you look at yourself and look at your flaws and look at your limiting beliefs and look at, the mistakes you've made in the past and, what things that not everybody can be great at everything. I mean, that's kind of a limiting belief in and of itself. So maybe I should look at that. But in my experience up until this point, we only have a certain amount of things because that we're amazing at because we're supposed to do it together. Kiyosaki said it so beautifully. He said, business is a team sport. It's not, you're supposed to do it all yourself like we're taught in school where everybody is taught on what they're supposed to know. No, if you took the whole classroom and made a giant class project, then that would make more sense because you would find each other's strengths and weaknesses and fill in the gaps, right? So I say all that to say, what if we're looking at this wrong and we take a step back and go, I got into business because I loved what I was doing, right? Hopefully you're not just doing it for the money, because it's a terrible idea. But if you're loving what you're doing, then isn't that enough,
But
right?
I gotta put a what's it, what's the word that people use? I have to have sustain myself. I have to produce, and I can't just keep doing this if it's not making me money.
Oh, okay. So money is more important than your heart's calling. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that, but I
No, I
feel like
know. But that's what people are saying when they say what you just said, right? Which is, but if it doesn't make money, I'm going to die. Let's break that down. So you believe in a hostile universe, not you, Diane, but I'm just saying to the
right, right,
person
right, right.
talking to. So you believe in a hostile universe that's trying to kill you. And that if you don't hustle and do things that you hate, you're gonna die. That's an onion of limiting beliefs in and of itself to start with,
Right.
right? Because if you don't believe in an unconditionally loving and supportive universe that put the excitement in there so that you're supposed to follow it, then you're going to be dangerously off track, and you're going to end up always doing what you hate because it makes money. Here's the another way to look at it. If you've ever done something you didn't like to do for money and were able to pay bills, why would it be harder to do something you did like to do and figure out how to make money at it? That doesn't make any sense. Mastering what you hate is easier? That's retarded. I'm sorry to all the people that, that word offends. It's just part of my vocabulary, but it's just ridiculous to think that way, right? Like, if you have the excitement that you'll have constant energy, constant ideas, like endless opportunities, you'll be talking about it to everyone. People will be like wanting to get on your bandwagon. Why would it be harder to do what you love and make money at it? That literally makes no sense. And yet
Well,
people just like you are, just like you said, or rather, you're hypothetical, are walking around thinking that.
Well, and I think it starts out with like the whole purpose of where I started this conversation is choosing to join like Kyle's Evolving Out Loud group, is wanting to make the decision to know myself, wanting to make the decision to get to my heart's calling, wanting to like, okay, God, you created me, I believe, for a purpose, and let's rock this thing. Like, what is like what is where the fire, like when I'm writing my books or when I'm having an amazing conversation with a client, it's like my chest is on fire. And so I feel like, but I had to, first of all, even like recognize how I feel, because
Yeah,
I'm sad to say that I feel like some people are walking around that don't even know what they feel or
yeah.
what makes them happy, because they're doing what their parents told them they should do. They're doing what society thinks. They're doing what their neighbor thinks they should do. Like
Keeping up with the Joneses,
we're
yeah.
off track.
Dangerously off track, yes. I mean, one of my friends, Teal Swan, she talks about this being the emotional dark ages that we live in right now. And
Wow, that's
the
powerful.
right, because what do we teach children about our emotions? To shut, especially in young boys, shut them down, right? Tough them through, don't think about them, right? So basically repress, suppress, and escape through drugs and alcohol or whatever, sex or whatever, food, we escape our emotions instead of understanding them. This is what should be taught in school, in my opinion, is like, what is going on with these reactions? Where are they coming from? And the number one way, in my opinion, to get anywhere you want to go is to understand your feelings, right? Because the way I look at it is like, if we only use logic, like we're Vulcans on Star Trek or something, if we only use logic, it makes logical sense to cut down a rainforest to make money. That's logical. But when you take a step back and go, what the heck did we just do?
Right.
From a feeling space of like, did we just hurt ourselves and our mother nature? Yes, right? So you can see how logic can be dangerous without balance of emotion, right? And the first thing, and the reason I love Kyle's community so much, many reasons, but a lot of people like yourself are more in touch with their feelings, and they're starting to let go of this idea that feelings are bad or to be avoided, right? Emotional intelligence over the last 20 years, especially in business, which is a great book, by the way, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, in business has been finally touted as the way to get more money and more, because you're more respected as a leader. You can communicate better when you understand other people's emotions, right? So in my opinion, understanding your emotions, feeling all of the feels, is going to be the number one way to get you anywhere you want to go.
Well, I know we're going a little bit long, but I just want you to speak about, I loved one of the things that you said, that when your negative emotions are kicking in, that's really guidance
Mhm.
to tell you that you're off track. So can you explain like a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, okay, great. So a or a negative emotion is like your heart or your soul communicating to you that you have bad programming, that you're believing false beliefs. It's kind of like a lie detector, right? So if I feel fear, for example, about public speaking, which I don't, I love public speaking, but if you do feel, if you're one of those people who feels fear about public speaking, then a lot of people will be like, you just got to push through it, push through the fear, and blah, blah. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is beautiful because your soul is communicating to you. So what you do is you sit with a piece of paper, or type or whatever, and you just ask, what would I have to believe about this situation in order to feel fear? I have to feel, or I'd have to believe that people are going to laugh at me, that they're going to hate me, that I'm not going to be respected, or blah, 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 all this list of beliefs. And you can see this is how the soul is communicating to you. And so fear is not the enemy, it's the lack of understanding of how our emotions work, right? The subconscious beliefs that you were implanted with at a young age and have been carrying, like you said, getting your parents' approval and all that stuff, you've been carrying around. Your soul and your heart is trying to break all of that up and reprogram you, but we don't know how, right? The dark ages. So this is really what I do all day, Diane, is like, we talk about limiting beliefs around money, of course, but I reignite this idea that all your emotions are there to serve you, right?
Mm.
And an emotion, I'm sorry, the truth will never make you feel bad. Okay, the truth will never make you feel bad, because again, this is not a hostile universe that wants to see you suffer, right? But if you believe it is, it loves you so much, it will give you that. So um, the truth will never make you feel bad. Let me give a short, real, I know we're over too, but a short example that I always use is as a little boy at school, if I liked a little girl, that felt good. I liked her. Maybe she was funny, she was exciting, right? She was cute. And
Yes.
so that felt really good. And then I go tell her I like her, and she doesn't like me back. And that hurts. So people automatically associate love hurts or the truth hurts. No, what happened was the truth is that you liked her. And then the truth ran into a limiting belief that she should like you back. But that's
Wow.
not the truth.
That's so good.
Right. So the limiting belief made you feel bad that she should like you back. You let go of the limiting belief that she should like you back. Now it's like she can like whoever she wants. I just like her. And the truth and the good feelings keep going. This is what happens every day, is just like you were talking about with your friends that are starting a business. I I feel really good, but then this happens. It's like, okay, so what do we believe about that so that we can move back to I'm feeling really good? That's how you know you're on your path, right?
Wow. I
Yeah,
love that. We could talk forever. This is
I know. That's
this
good.
is such a good conversation. It's just
Ooh.
great. I'm so grateful that you're here. So is this an example? Because I want people to connect with you, and we'll put your contact information, on the video and everything. So the financialshaman.com.
Mhm.
And so is this an example of like how you work with clients? Like,
Yeah. So literally, what I do is we break down, yeah, obviously their financial situation, not the numbers, the feelings, right? So I talk usually about, what your parents teach you about money, and like when you look at your bank account, what do you feel? Or, like some of my first clients back in the day were trying to buy their dream home, and it brought up all these negative emotions and limiting emotions. And so we had to move through a lot of these beliefs, and now they did actually get their dream home. But it's really reprogramming you from the core, which is, I don't deserve what I want. God wants me to suffer. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough for what all of these limiting beliefs that we walk around with, that seemingly go unnoticed, that these need to be dismantled. Because as you've said the last times we've talked, the more you love yourself, the more the abundance just flows. And so I'm in charge of finding those beliefs that are stopping you from loving you and opening your heart fully to the beautifulness of this world and who you are, right? And then
Oh,
abundance just tends to manifest out of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just love that. And it is the abundance that is perfect for each individual,
Yes.
because one person's, I just like you said, what's your how do you see success? One person may see, 50,000 as success, one will see 500,000 as success. So it's finding the abundance that lights you up and
Yeah.
that is a good flow for you.
Yeah,
Ah,
and remember, abundance is just the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. So you following your heart's calling, moving fluidly through the earth is all you need. People want to stockpile cash so it makes their fear go away. Really, all you need is the ability to move fluidly toward where you need to do to follow your heart. That's all, right? You express yourself fully. You get to, be who you are, unencumbered from whatever it is that is you think is holding you back. That is really abundance. Being, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, that's not abundance to me, right? The abundance is someone who's just moving every day to their highest in their heart's calling and expanding every single day, right? Not getting more money. Like, that just doesn't, unless that excites you, I guess. I don't, it doesn't excite me at all.
that's so good. Well, thank you so much. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for this conversation and your honesty. And I'm just so inspired by you following your highest calling and, creating this business with yourself. And I wish you much success, and let's keep talking, and
Absolutely. Thank you,
thank you for
Diane. I
being here,
appreciate it.
and hope everybody enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much.